I'm Sandra Rupp. I was placed on the Thinkers 50 radar list for the world's top business thinkers. I wouldn't go to Davos now if they paid me $1 million to go. I wouldn't go. You've been found out, Davos men. Your game is over. Anything designed by Klaus Schwab and Yuval Harari and Fauci and Gates and all these characters, those men are evil. A conference of 75% men cannot exist, okay, in today's world. My name is Sandra Rupp. Welcome to my channel on YouTube. You can follow me on WordPress. Check out my Davos diary, as well as LinkedIn, Twitter. I'm at Exec Career Coach on Twitter. I want to welcome everyone today. I've got a lot of Davos secrets to share, and it's a very hot topic these days. As some of you know, I predicted a lot of what was coming down at Davos over the past 10 years. In my mission, I tried to get more women invited. I wanted to have like 40% women there by now. We only have 25%. And then I realized Davos men are communists. They told me so. They're Marxists. They don't want more women there. They want to fly on their private jets, do what they want to do. They don't want to be told how to live their lives, but they want to tell you how to live your life. So what we need to do is to bring down Klaus Schwab and Davos. We need to bring down the World Economic Forum because they're not interested in your best interests. And you can check out the pharmaceutical CEOs who are on their way to becoming billionaires. It's all about the vaccine passport, gaining control of your every movement, stopping you from having free speech, creating a digital currency. If they don't like what you say, they can turn off your banking. They don't want you to own anything. They don't want you to even own a car. They want you to eat fake food. They have so many dangerous things in mind for you that you need to watch out. So please stay tuned to my Davos secrets. We've got a lot more coming down the pike. Stay tuned. We have a real problem on our hands here, and that is that Davos men are very dangerous. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So please stay tuned. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel right here on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Klaus Schwab has been given every opportunity to resign. We hear there's even talk internally that his staff members want him to resign. He's 84 years old. Klaus, it's time to go. Okay, it's way past time to go. You should have retired back in 2011 when I was placed on the cover of the Davos debates for my answer to inclusive economic growth. Because the answer was to invest in the feminine leadership style, the largest economic opportunity worldwide. And instead of doing that, Klaus, what you did is you got a bunch of STEM majors there, bankers, high-tech, pharmaceutical people, and you tried to create this idea of COVID so that you could then implement vaccine passports, social credit scores, which would lead to taking down people's banking. If you didn't like what they said on social media, complete censorship. No one wants to live in a world like that. I had major CEOs of European companies who have worked in America tell me that they're communists. I mean, this is not a secret at Davos. So for anyone who doesn't get this, you need to get it now, because the men at Davos are trying to destroy the United States so that they can take over the world. If they make the United States just like one of 6 countries that have money and power, then they can take over those 6 countries and run the world. And that's really their agenda. When they fly on private jets into Davos and then take limos and helicopters, they're not caring about their carbon footprint, no. But they want you to stop flying. They want you to not own property. They want you to be slaves, okay? And I wrote my honors thesis way back when on the fall of the British Empire, and there was a very similar situation in history. In this case, it was the landed gentry. It was the House of Lords, the landowners in the British Empire, who had the money, the land, the power. And it got to the point where the people, they were had very little. And so there was a prime minister who was elected, Prime Minister Asquith, and then it was Lloyd George, the finance minister, I believe, to make sure that the House of Lords lost their veto power. And when that happened in about 1910, the Constitutional Conference of 1910, the people were able to take back power from this elite. We're in a very similar situation today, where we need to take down Davos men. We need to take down the Davos billionaires, because they're not smarter than you and me, okay? They don't have more wisdom. They may be better at aggressively making money, but they've got a lot more assets. It's certainly a lot easier to make money when you have assets. But if you are not given the opportunity for capitalism and what they were able to achieve, if they then take that away from you, you will have nothing. And they've told you that. So right now, the most important thing that all of you can do is to contact your representatives, okay? In our case, it's members of Congress, our senators, Congress people. Like, I pick up the phone and I call them and tell them how I think they should vote on certain bills. We need to be on top of our politics, locally, nationally. What I have been told by one of the top CEOs in the world, who's now retired, is that Klaus Schwab doesn't really want more women at Davos. He just wants to win the Nobel Peace Prize. We do not need to be told what to do by 75% men. No woman with any self-worth should attend Davos ever again. And I want to tell all those women who show up, those brainwashed young global leaders, they've essentially tried to brainwash you. I would tell you to stop showing up and sitting on the outskirts of Davos. You're not even invited into the real meeting. Okay, they have different badges, right? Why are you demeaning yourself? You should be in the real room. Women with wisdom. They don't want women with wisdom, and they just want women that they can brainwash. So what they've done is they've invited women who are brainwashed, liberal women, a lot of them trained in this Young Global Leaders program. And these women basically just go along with the program and do very evil things along with these men. The Prime Minister of New Zealand is the classic example. Jacinda Ardern. She has done very evil things. She now had to resign. She was paid off. I mean, you look at her net worth, I think it went from 800,000 to 30 million while she was prime minister. These are people that are willing to be paid off, okay? How do you sleep at night, you people, okay? You can go back and watch some of my videos when coronavirus first came out, and I actually predicted that this was a psyop. I didn't have a good feeling about the pharmaceutical CEOs. I looked up all their biographies. None of them were born in the US. They're all foreign born. And there's this big push at Davos for a lot of what Bill Gates was doing. And I was very suspect of what was going on, because when you get a lot of STEM majors in a room, there's a lack of humanitarian knowledge, a lack of history, a lack of wisdom. And when you get to know these men in a more professional and personal way, and you hear stories about them, you realize that a lot of billionaires, they're not such nice people, okay? Now, there are exceptions to that. I have met some billionaires who are perfectly, very engaging at a dinner party, or charming, or this, that, or they donate money to a charity. But when it comes right down to it, these men know how to make a lot of money. People that make a lot of money are not always nice people. In fact, I would argue that a lot of them are too focused on money and not focused on the right things. Okay, to me, spirituality and integrity are number one. So when I go into a project, it's all about spirituality, integrity, doing the right thing, and making sure that there's enough to go around. So I'm a dove, I'm not a hawk, and I've talked about that in other videos too. But when I got involved with the billionaires at Davos and the multimillionaire CEOs, I realized that there's this huge incentive to make gobs of money. And it came about originally through stock options. And if you remember the dot-com boom and bust, people, made lots and lots of money suddenly. Even people, some companies just weren't that solid. And some of these people made lots of money. They were giving money to young people graduating from universities who knew nothing really, except that they were young and were kind of well-versed in e-commerce. I was actually working in executive search in New York at the time. And if you talk to people like Patrick Byrne, who's the former CEO of Overstock.com, or you talk to people like Edward Dowd, who worked for BlackRock, we all felt some bad things brewing, okay, during the dot-com boom and bust, also during the financial services crisis. You just know that something's not right. I mean, we have keen intuition, and I think that that's when I knew that something wasn't right in this COVID situation, because I believe that they created COVID to bring down Donald Trump. I know that the globalists dislike Trump. The men at Davos were on a path to implement global communism. Hillary Clinton was their choice for president. They all stood up at a CEO breakfast and raised their hands for Hillary Clinton. When Trump won, they were shocked. And I talked to some of these men about it, because they just didn't understand Donald Trump and his popularity. But I was able to really clue them in on what was going on. That was the worst thing that ever happened to them, really. Was that Trump was now taking on globalists. And he had a lot of support. They got scared. And, I have my theories about what went down in the US elections. But when the COVID videos came out from China, and if you all remember, there were these videos of people in China being dragged out of their apartments by the police because they had this COVID. Those videos were created to instill fear in Americans, okay? I said to myself, that's propaganda, okay? They are trying to scare us to death. When I talk to intelligent people here in Florida who, were older, who had been through wars and, all kinds of difficult times, these, men and women were in their 70s and 80s. They weren't afraid of COVID, because when they really researched it, they said, look, it's sort of like the flu. And even though Bill Gates spent a lot of money, he gave money to Imperial College in London to come out with these false predictions of how bad COVID was going to be and how many bodies were going to, be in body bags and people were going to die. They got found out, Imperial College, and he funded that research. People got mad. There were a lot of clues here. When Mike Pence created the committee instead of Trump and had Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx and people that were funded by Bill Gates, my radar went up. I knew something was seriously wrong. I have a background in media, and one thing I can tell you about the mainstream media, the big media here in the US, is they're all owned by liberal CEOs. So you're not getting objective news on these channels. What you need to do is subscribe to some of us. The true journalists out there are now the investigative journalists, the independent journalists. The most important thing that you can do is make sure that you are watching everything that goes into your body, that you're very careful with your food, any medicines, and that you take care of yourself, your family, and you watch out for these Davos billionaires, because they do not have your best interests at heart. I'm Sandra Rupp. Please stay tuned, and thanks for watching. I'd like to give a shout out to the people over at Project Veritas and Rebel News and InfoWars. You guys do great investigative journalism. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter at Exec Career Coach. Connect with me on LinkedIn if you'd like me to do a Zoom call to your group. And please stay tuned. Thanks for watching. I've worked in global executive search in New York. I've worked in multiple industries, started in pharmaceutical, consumer products, media, advertising, then worked in the .com space, then financial services, did searches all the way up to CEO. And today, I'm here to tell you that leadership can look like this. Thanks for watching.